Beware Romulans bearing gifts.
Did you finish or watch all of Picard season 3?
Yes, and I loved all 3 seasons. Will I say that I loved them all equally or in the same way? No. I liked season 3, but I've seen First Contact before, and that's kind of what it felt like. So, it
Well,
went down the
in a
same.
Borg way, maybe, but you would think it'd be different.
It was different, but it was still kind of the same. You know what I mean? It was. I like that the new way that the Borg were trying to assimilate humans. I thought that was really inventive, and wow, the Borg is getting creative, but it's still the cutest Borg. I'm human. I'm having a nightmare. Somebody has a son. Oh, Picard doesn't have a son. Has a son this time. It's not a clone. It's like, we've been there. We've done that. I've seen it before. The thing that I kind of liked about first season Picard is that Patrick Stewart wanted to do sci-fi without kind of being sci-fi, and I think his first season was kind of something that he more wanted. I'm not sure. I could be making that up, but
yeah, the direction of season 1 and 2 was definitely, I believe, due to Patrick Stewart's influence for sure. I mean, like the way the story went, like initially he didn't want to really have
a space romp.
Any old crew members. He didn't want to have like Starfleet proper in uniform, like Starfleet uniforms and things like that.
I kind of enjoyed that because it was a limitation that we haven't seen before, and so it was kind of new territory. So that's the reason why I liked it. I know other people didn't care for it, but I thought it was it was his thing. It was good to see. I was like, we are watching something that is heavily influenced by Patrick Stewart, who has been Jean-Luc Picard for years, and he wants to give us something different. Let's go. I was into it. But then it felt like because people didn't receive seasons 1 and 2, there's like, you know what? Let's break out these raggedy ass draws called First Trump Contact. We gonna just throw some, shit that we've already seen before. I liked it. It was fun. It was I was into it, but it was just like, oh, Borg, here we go.
Interesting. If I could speak for myself and Carl and Caleb for 1 second, I would say our basic rundown on season 3 is, I mean, we could just cut all the Borg at the end out. Like we're not really concerned with that because it doesn't really add too much, but everything else besides the Borg at the end.
What else was it besides the Borg?
The whole first 8 episodes before we knew the Borg were the big bad.
True. There was a whole lot.
So all the stuff that was happening, the Nebula, the Space Museum, the Ensign Row, the Vatican. So the preceding 8 episodes, I mean, we for the most part, I mean, that's what made it good. The Borg was just kind of tacked on at the end.
Right. Okay. Well, it just felt like, he was just like, you fuckers, this is going to be my lad. Y'all, didn't want to see anything different. You fucks, get this. Here's your season 3 with your space romp. We're going to play poker at the end. You should like this. Leave me alone. You know what I mean? It was just like he gave up. And so I think I don't know. The first, I don't know. It was fine. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Wow. I mean, I appreciate the unique take for sure. I mean that sincerely.
Thank you.
That is definitely a unique take.
Seriously, I can't believe I'm the only one who's like, okay, First Contact. I mean, it was.
And I'm not just speaking for the podcast. I'm talking about fandom at large.
It's like, okay. I mean, you can eat steak every day, but you're going to get tired of it at some point. You know what I mean? You're going to want something else. But I mean, I don't know. It was fine.
Just switch out the Borg garnish and I will take that steak like every day and give me more. Thank you very much.
I mean, I could at least like a shrimp
Not to mention Captain Shaw, who was super cool.
He was cranky. I liked him, but he was still, that actor is still the same guy in everything he does. But I enjoyed him in this role. I'm glad he was there.
Hell yeah.
But it's just like it was bits and pieces of everything that we've seen before. You know what I mean?
No, it was, but that was like part of the appeal, I think.
Well, not for me. I wanted.
I get it.
I don't know. I bought.
I am not trying to change your mind at all on this.
I know, but I was just saying, I really bought into Let's See what Patrick Stewart did, and I think he went some really interesting places. I mean, I liked the killer nuns and all the guy, all that stuff. I was just like, what the hell is any of this? I don't know. We're going on adventure. Just show me what you got, and then it was like, yeah, we did that new stuff, but people, you know what I mean? They just want vanilla ice cream. So we're not going to give them any, like.
We get it. Picard season 1 and 2, they were a love letter from Patrick Stewart to Kat specifically.
Directly. Okay. And the other one, he was just like, I'm going to see somebody else. I'm going to go back to my old girlfriend. I'm like, all right, dude, whatever.
Well, that was Terry Matalas, who some of us think of this as the savior of New Trek. He's the one who changed direction of the ship, and figuratively and literally.
All he did was just like read a Reddit like thread and just like, oh, let's go back to that old shit. Because these people are stupid.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, did he do anything groundbreaking? It was beautiful. Yes, you did, Boo. It was awesome. But
I thought season 3 was like a much better ending for the crew versus the Nemesis movie. Like a much better way to think of.
Why do you even put a Nemesis in this? Oh my god!
Because that's where things were left.
That's the last time we saw the crew together. It's true.
Oh, okay. It's been so long. I didn't know that's where we were going with that. All right.
Well, I didn't expect all that. What about Kat? The first 2 episodes of season 2 of Strange New Worlds so far, the Spock in charge and the court drama.
So the first episode I thought was a great first episode. It hit all the marks. It was nothing wrong with it. It, like season 3 of Picard, was fine. Like, you don't take anything away from it. It was good. It didn't need to do anything new. I thought Spock being scared to take the helm was weird. I'm like, dude, didn't he do that at some point somewhere? I don't know. I was just like, why is he being weird? I felt like he did this already, but I could be thinking about something else. I could, be in my own head canon. Who knows? Whatever. But I loved it. I would say the second episode with the court drama. Now, when I first started this episode, I was like, dear God, we're going to be in court again. It's like, if we're not fighting the Borg, we're not doing Wrath of Khan again, or we're not doing First Contact, we're in fucking court. And I was surprised by this court episode, mainly because the actress who played Nira Khatul, I guess I'm saying that correctly, she was phenomenal. I thought she came in there and owned her scene, owned everything. The concept of the Illyrians being like subjugated and like the rest of Starfleet kind of being, I guess, quote, racist or whatever, or not really accepting them. And then because they were justified in not I guess accepting augments into their society, that they forgot that perhaps they were being like assholes and racist. So they had somebody come in and tell them, hey, you know what, this is how we feel. You have been putting us to the side just because somebody's been augmented. They were born that way. They didn't have anything to do with that. And look at this augment. She, was very inspired by, everything you're doing. And she shows up and she tells you all these things about, overcome all these things, and you still want to put her in jail and take away her rights or, career, and you're being an asshole. And it another thing that it made me think about was, I've always seen Star Trek as something positive and inspirational. It didn't occur to me that, like, they said they have penal colonies, but I was like, I thought that, like, okay, we don't have money. Everybody's, explored. We're not capitalists, but there's people in jail. There are jails in Star Trek, which I never like. I mean, I know that they have the brig, right? But to think about jail in Star Trek and then like people being bigots and you just like what's the evil side of Star Trek? Have we ever thought? I've always been pro Starfleet, you know? I don't know. But I actually started to think about that. But this whole episode, I don't know, I got off track a little bit. But this one, I've said to my other friends that this episode made me cry the entire time. I thought it was just like spot on. This actress, I've seen her before in the Neil Gaiman's TV show American Gods, and she was a god in that, and she was. I would dare, like, I would like be cheeky, tongue in cheek, and say she was awful by comparison to this episode. She was fine in American Gods, but this was phenomenal. I just felt everything she said. It was just so perfect, and it I knew I was going to make this joke with Carl, but it really reminded me of Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, where they were being ridiculous about the augments or the Illyrians, and they didn't know it until somebody really made a good um, argument for it. So and I don't know. I've been feeling that way. I've been feeling like an Illyrian like for the past couple of years, and it was what Star Trek does at its best, and we've seen like it was absolutely TOS. Just it was that, and this is what you come to Star Trek for. So love it.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think anyone here or anywhere in fandom has anything negative to say about the actress who played Nira Khatul. Yeah, I mean, universally loved. It seems some people want her to have like her own like Starfleet, like like Starfleet Legal, like spin-off show. And
I would watch it. I would watch it because she was phenomenal. But then, like, would she be like doing like the Section 31 show? Because I thought, like,
oh god,
I'm just saying, it's just like she really was good there. Like
no, she's great. I'm not even reacting to the Section 31 movie. I'll remain open to that. It's just Section 31 in general.
You don't like it?
Just feels like a tired premise in general. I'm willing to be change, like have my opinion changed with the telemovie whenever it comes out.
Well, I think my thought was along the same lines of where I was going earlier. It's like when I think of Star Trek, we just think about we forget that when we watch it, we are watching the Enterprise, and these are the top tier, perfect soldiers going out to explore. Then, like, you get the lower decks that we kind of don't see, and then you have like prisoners or people who do crime, or like I just have never really sat and thought about Star Trek in that way. Like, these are still human people. They are, I don't know, like
It's weird how you have this openness towards the Star Trek universe, but then there's this Andor series that does the same thing for Star Wars. But I'm not going to bring that up.
No, Andor to me was just a Game of Thrones and boring. Like I'm sorry, Andor.
No, but the things you were just saying about like thinking about like the wider universe out there and criminals.
See, Star Trek has done that. I get that, but Star Trek has done that. Like, it has a history of that. That's in the Star Trek DNA. When you try to do Game of Thrones on Star Wars, like, did anybody ask for Star Wars to be adult? Is that what we really want, or did we want something really cool? And did people hate like Muppet creatures or whatever? Like, who wanted the sober Star Wars?
Nobody except us in the room and some other people on this podcast who aren't.
But what are you getting from that? Like Star Trek was born. I mean, Star Wars was born of Luke Skywalker and Vader and adventure and stuff like that. And then you like get older and you're like, yeah, let's throw finance and law.
Well, I mean, I'll entertain the question on the Star Trek podcast, but I would say since Disney, you're expanding things and bringing out different series, then it is kind of difficult to imagine going to that same well of swashbuckling action, which is all great, but we already have like the Mandalorian series and other movies in that vein. To have, and the, I guess, the adult version, you would say. And I don't think of it as adult, although it is like in tone. Not that it's explicit, but it's in the right. It's adult writing, I guess, if you want to use the adult term. And that is definitely the Star Wars I needed in my life, because it showed that Star Wars could be more than what it was, and that there's actually a lot more about the Star Wars universe between the lines, which you only really ever could experience like in novel form. But now they're bringing some of that depth to the screen, and so to me it's refreshing, because otherwise you're just gonna like desensitize everyone to like the standard retread of Star Wars universe that we're all accustomed to. But that's just my hot take.
Yeah, Star Wars has had different eras where they keep trying to reach out to the younger and younger audience. And when it first came out, we were the kids, we were the children, and they targeted us as a story for kids. As we got older in our college years, they rebooted it and they had the prequels. But again, the prequels were targeted toward kids, and sort of their age group, and continuing to grow Star Wars fans. But there's some fans that have been here from the very beginning. And these fans, still want to explore the Star Wars universe, but maybe not necessarily with Jar Jar and Muppets and things around. Maybe each time they target, sort of a younger demographic with Star Wars. But we have the old cranky fans kind of going, well, I wish there was something for me. Well, how about a Star Wars that is actually for adults? Same universe, same space, but maybe more challenging plots, more dramatic, kind of stuff going on. I think it was a smart idea to try. And, Star Wars has always had, from a cinematographic standpoint, if that's that right, visually is interesting. It's always been very visually interesting. But sometimes, when you're chasing Leia through little baby Leia through a ravine being chased by three people, when you're watching, Jar Jar's tongue get stuck in a energy band, you gotta go, maybe there's more. Maybe there's more to the Star Wars universe than just what we're seeing here. For them to explore that, to exercise that, I think is very good. And again, I heard we were talking about kind of how you felt about it, but I think there are some moments with real excitement in Andor.
Oh yes,
and like not just dramatic, psychological. I mean, actual explosions and lasers and cool stuff like that too, to kind of balance out the drama. So I think that's
yeah. And Kate, you were just talking about that feeling you got, that emotionality you got from the Ad Astra episode of Strange New Worlds. Mm-hmm. I had some type of like overwhelming feeling of emotion, and like mixed with nostalgia and joy. Like off the top of my head, there's approximately 4 key moments like in Andor, like across the season, where I just had this crazy feeling overcome me that like, oh my gosh, Star Wars is like somehow hitting the way it used to, but in a different way for my adult self. There was the peak moments are just absolutely incredible in that series. But anyway,
I would ask you the 4 peak moments, but this will turn into an Andor.
Right. And also I don't feel ready to spoil all those things for the people who haven't seen it yet. Still holding out that even more people get turned on to that series.
I had to force myself to watch it, and then I stopped.
Oh, did you get through the whole season?
I watched the whole thing, but I did
not know you got through the whole thing.
I force fed myself.
Well, offline, I'll tell you the times that just completely blew me away in a good way. Eventually, we're going to get to the new episode. I just got one more thing thrown by Carl that I just remembered in reference to the first episode of season 2. The Spock episode, The Broken Circle. I'm just curious what you thought about this, Carl, which I learned. The ship that the Klingons are making, originally they were going to have it be an NX-01 refit type ship. Like they were going to, fully show like a NX refit type vessel that they had put together from scratch. But because they didn't have the budget to recreate Enterprise sets, like interior sets. That's why they just went with the Discovery sets and reused them. which then in turn caused them just to switch it to they call it a crossfield class, which is what the Discovery ship is supposed to be. So they just went that way because of budget constraints. But any thoughts on that, Carl?
Well, to me, it seems more appropriate that it would be a newer vessel that they were trying to, disguise the Starfleet. If they're trying to keep a low profile until they can cause some destruction or whatever, seeing like a Model T flying around, I think that would have attracted a whole lot more attention than just a slightly older generation. So outside of the story of Star Trek, outside of the context, I really, really want to see, I enjoy that design of the NX-1 with the engineering section put on it. I really, really want to see it on screen. And again, I know it was toward the end of Picard season, but I really wanted to see it. But from a strategic standpoint, they are trying to create a ship that is supposed to be modern, or, reasonably modern Starfleet era, that is, one that is ruining the reputation of Starfleet, that's out doing mess and causing trouble. Like I said, something that is relatively new makes way more sense than them dragging the NX out and somehow claiming that Starfleet causing trouble. So, there you go.
You are totally right, of course.
That is so cool. That is a very good.
You're totally right in universe, because I thought the same thing. Like, it would be weird that this antique just came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. I still want to see that ship, though.
Well, no doubt.
And if they had actually gone to the effort of making like recreations of the Enterprise set, I would have completely lost it, even though it hardly would have made sense.
Yeah, well, so I would love to have seen it.
They don't have one. I felt like they've built that and torn it down time and time again, right?
Not the old Enterprise.
Not the old. Okay,
we're talking about Archer.
He's talking about what's his name?
Scott Bakula.
Bakula's Enterprise.
No, I'm not talking about Bakula. I'm talking about, like, I feel like there's a set somewhere.
Okay,
where they have all the inners.
We are talking about Bakula's Enterprise, and I don't think they have rebuilt that set at all.
Right.
Oh, you are talking about Bakula's.
That's
yes.
That's
okay.
the NX-01.
That's what they intended at first when they were drawing up that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now that makes sense. Okay, I thought you said you weren't talking about Bakula. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.